everyone. My name is Sara Shikhman. I am the founder and managing partner at Lengea Law. And I'm super excited about this webinar and how many people we had register and have here attending because this topic is a super amazing topic related to AI. And I'm super excited about our speaker today, who's an expert in this and an expert in marketing, Michael Antosy from MyAdvice. He's been doing marketing for a long time, and he's the director of practice growth consulting at MyAdvice. He's worked with thousands of practices since 2010. And I know firsthand that his counsel and advice has been transformative for so many of those clients. He speaks at a lot of conferences and shows, so we're super excited for him to talk to us and share some advice, and super happy to get started.
Well, thank you for that warm introduction. And I see some names here that I recognize from the My Advice side. So, in case any of y'all do not know who Sara Shikhman is, she is a mover and a shaker in the world of aesthetics. I mean, what, Sara, you had owned and operated your own medical spa, you sold that, you started your own law firm, and today, gosh, you help thousands of practices with just understanding a lot of the legal infrastructure on the state by state basis, compliance, putting together handbooks in terms of SOPs and things of that nature. So I've lectured. Gosh, I think we met through a mutual client a few years ago, and I've had the honor and pleasure of just meeting such a great entrepreneur. So I appreciate you welcoming me into your family here with today. But for those of you who do not know Sara, she should be on your radar as well too. So here to really talk to you about what we've seen in terms of shifts and changes with the AI landscape and really how that's really rapidly shifting how patients are connecting and finding providers in today's age. 3 years ago when ChatGPT really hit the mainstream, it really caused a big disruption in terms of Google optimization. And now we're certainly finding in more and more and more that more patients are starting to use ChatGPT to find providers, to find medical spa practices. And so the question is really, how is your strategy adapting to this? How are you changing? How are you keeping pace with some of these updates, both within Google as well as with ChatGPT as well? So tonight what we're going to talk about is really the foundational elements of what Google is looking for, what ChatGPT is really looking for. How do you start to position your strategy to really stay adaptive, and what you need to go from there. Just to set a bit of the landscape though for you guys. So let's talk about Google first, because Google really, when we talk about, if I'm say seeking out a service, if I know that I want to invest into a procedure, if I want Botox or microneedling or body contouring, whatever that thing is, if I know that I want that thing, I just do not know who offers it, where do I go? And hopefully you're thinking about Google. And so Google's role, search's role, is really what it does to drive acquisition revenue into your practice. When you want to grow more patients, when you want to grow new revenue, because that's the lifeblood of your practice, that's the lifeblood of running a business, you need to always be bringing in more and more and more of that. But the game has shifted. Google, what really was starting to rank websites just around, the quality of their content, or, how robust that might be, it's shifting around a little bit more. It's what we call the helpful content update. Now, Google as a system, it makes about 9 changes to its algorithm every single day. So the one thing you should understand about search is that it's something that's very fluid. It's changing, it's adapting. You want to be working particularly with a marketing partner that has a fluid mindset and that can pivot on a dime. But every so often, Google makes a really, really big update to its algorithm. And often when these updates happen, they'll name them. Historically, the ones that you might have heard of before were the Hummingbird update, the Panda update. Back in 2018, we had the Medic update. But I want to stress that these big core algorithm updates, they're very infrequent. They don't happen a lot. We have seen 3 core updates since ChatGPT hit the mainstream only 3 years ago. So digital marketing right now is really in a state of flux. And Google is very much rapidly changing in terms of how it's showing websites and how it's qualifying websites. And just to share this here with you guys, for those of you who have done a search recently, this is me just doing a search here for asking Google, who is the best medical spa in Dallas. One of the things that you are now going to start to see here is what Google is promoting is its AI overview, okay? This is becoming before paid search. This is showing up before your maps listings that you're finding right down here below. These are also even showing up well below these organic rankings that you're finding beneath here as well too. And the main effect that this has had on search is that how patients used to search is we would go down a rabbit hole. We would go onto a search engine and we would just see a lot of different options. We would click on websites, we would make a decision on, what feels the best, and that's ultimately then how that would guide that choice. What AI is doing now is it's taking the choice out of the equation. It's the AI telling the patient, this is where you should go. So you can see that this is something that's being heavily promoted. And what I will tell you is that the practices that are adapting their digital strategies to stay relevant here are the ones that are winning the revenue game. If you are not keeping pace with these changes, I will promise you, you're going to see a precipitous drop in terms of your practice's online visibility, which ultimately then will affect how you are driving more leads into your practice and then ultimately converting those leads into more revenue. So the game is changing a little bit. How do we stay adaptive into this realm? And so what I want to talk to you guys about here today is something that is called eating. And no, I'm not talking about going to like a fancy steakhouse or anything to that effect. We're talking about the new algorithm update that Google is enacting. It's basically the new AI playbook that if you're looking to survive in today's new AI landscape and how patients are rapidly just changing how they're finding practices online, what you have to start to do. So let's dive into this a little bit here, and I'm going to start to also give you guys some frameworks in terms of really how you start to understand this as well. Okay. So EAT. What EEAT stands for is experience, expertise, authority, as well as trustworthiness. And all these are related to your practice's website, as well as the ongoing marketing efforts that you do to drive your visibility. If you happen to have a business that focuses on either your money or your life, YMYL, obviously your life is all about healthcare. These are the practices that are the most being scrutinized as it relates to these new updates. So let's dive in here and let's talk a little bit about the first E in this, which is what we call experience. Okay. What experience has to deal with is everything related to the procedure pages that are on your website. And by the way, what I'm going to also do here as well too is I'm going to actually show you guys some samples of actual practices that are winning and adapting these strategies to really stay most competitive, so that we really have a good framework to understand what you need to do. But when we talk about experience, this is all about really Google understanding the qualitativeness of your content. Now, how Google used to rank websites was what we would refer to as keyword optimization. And I still talk to practices today that say, well, I want to be found for these keywords and these keywords. Guys, I want you to break yourself and detangle yourself from this mindset of keywords, because that's just not simply how patients are searching in today's age. Sure, they might do a search for Botox near me, but this is not what this applies to. There's actually things that you can be doing that are not content related that will still help to optimize you for those types of searches. But what we're talking about is really getting into the nuance, into the detail as to what are the common questions that your patients are asking you, and are you answering those questions onto your website? Number one, and let's just talk about content structure on your website. You need to make sure that you have a dedicated page for every single service that you offer at your practice. Even for those of you who might be doing Botox and Dysport, I've seen a lot of times practices will group those content pieces on the same page. Do not do that. You need to make sure that every single neuromodulator, dermafiller, every type of laser that you offer has its own dedicated page to it. The reason why that's important is because that's how Google understands the content on that page. If you're grouping, Botox and Daxify and Sculptra all into the same page, Google's like, all right, well, what is this page about? So number one is you always want to make sure you have dedicated pages that discuss every single thing that you do. Secondly, is you also need to make sure then that how you are answering, you want to have questions and answers that really reflect the common questions that your patients are asking you. Because here's what I will tell you, before they are in your room asking you those questions that you can anticipate, because I'm used to seeing, 30 to 40 to 50-year-old female demographic into my practice, I can generally anticipate the questions those patients will have. That's what they're searching. That's what they're Googling. I will pose you this question as well, too. Just think about this rhetorically. Would you rather convert a patient that searches microneedling near me? Or would you rather convert a patient that ask a question, well, how many sessions of microneedling does one need in order to see a result? Think about the last time you were ever serious about buying something. Were you asking, very, superficial questions, or were you getting deep in discovery because you knew that you wanted to make the right choice?
And Michael, sorry, one question about that. Sometimes we hear from practices, well, we don't want to give away too much content. We don't want to put too much free information on the internet because we want people to come in and ask us these questions. What do you say to practices that have that view?
I think it's a push pull, right? But I think that you have to look at your situation and say, well, what's worth more? Is it, having that information that's out there, or is it greater for you to get more visibility so that way you can convert more of that visibility into traffic, into leads? I mean, the question is, where do you want to be making your money? If you're not revenue incentive, if making the money is not as important for you, then sure. I mean, I would say, take away content on your website. That's fine. But if the goal is to really stay most competitive in this landscape, you can't be fearful of that. And I'll also say this to you too, Sarah. Content is an ongoing process. It's not like you reach this golden period where you no longer create content anymore. As a matter of fact, Google has a favorite website, and this actually would be a little pretty good test to show you how authoritative websites can be when they're constantly updating content. So Google actually has a favorite website. It's not google.com nor any type of Google affiliate like YouTube or Gmail. It's not a shopping website like an Amazon, nor is it a social media site like a Facebook. Do you have any idea what I might be referring to?
I do, because I've heard you
You've
ask
heard
this
this
question
before.
before. But the people in our conversation here, if you guys put it in the Q&A, any guesses about what is Google's favorite website, that the website that they think is the most authoritative? We would love to hear some guesses. Not GoDaddy, but good. That's a good guess.
That's a good guess.
I see we had some more guesses. CDC and Google Analytics. No, although I'm sure Google likes Google Analytics.
Google Analytics is where we go to track some of that data. Ticketmaster, no, not that either. Okay, so guys, I'm gonna, just for the sake of our time here, I'm gonna take the lead here on this. And so I'm gonna show you guys 3 different types of searches that we're gonna be doing here. Number one, I've got a 2-year-old at home, and he's super into watching Spidey and His Amazing Friends, okay? So I'm gonna do a Google search here for Spidey and His Amazing Friends. I also live outside of Philadelphia, so I'm certainly a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fans. So I'm going to do a search here for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I grew up going on vacations. My parents took us to Myrtle Beach. So here we go. So for my South Carolinians, shout out to you all. So hopefully we can all make the agreement that Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the Philadelphia Eagles, and Spidey and His Amazing Friends have nothing to do with each other. But yet you are still going to see this same website ranking top of search. And that website that I'm referring to, guys, is Wikipedia. And Wikipedia, by the way, is not a Google affiliate website. But if I'm Googling Spidey and His Amazing Friends, here's the wiki link. The Philadelphia Eagles, as I start to go down here, you're going to see it rank right over here. This is the Philadelphia Eagles. And then finally, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. If I go down here, here's Wiki. So why do we always see Wikipedia? What is it about Wikipedia that makes this a site that Google is always showing? And the answer to that is the content. It's a huge website that will cover a particular subject matter, in this particular case, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And it looks at this one entity and it covers it from many, 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 many different angles. And that's what Google now starts to see as being authoritative and high trafficked. So again, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, if I go to this here, I'm going to learn so much about its history, its geography, its demographics, its economy, sports. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on about this one subject matter. So Sarah, let me ask you a question. So this is a website that I want to share here with you. And this is one that I would say to you is really succeeding when we talk about the E factor within this, with their content authority. Sarah, this is all their content on the website. Pick a page for me. Where would you like to go?
Go to laser hair removal under laser and energy treatment.
Great. So if I click on laser hair removal here, here's what we're going to find. Again, a lot of those questions and answers, questions and answers, questions and answers. Why choose laser hair removal? What is laser hair removal? Who's a good candidate for laser hair removal? again, it's mirroring those same types of qualities that we find with a website that's also very heavily trafficked, which is Wikipedia. So now if I go over here to search and I say, who is the best at laser hair removal in Charleston, South Carolina, my client is, well, they're here. The name here is a little bit misleading here, but this is actually one of them. But guys, when we talk about this, though, this is why we're also saying that the qualitativeness of your content very much matters in terms of how you're going to start to drive a lot of your positioning and a lot of your authority. So again, experience matters in terms of how you're really showcasing this onto your site and making sure you have dedicated pages that reflect a lot of the things that you're also doing. Let me go back here to my slide deck and let's go to the other E of this.
And let me add one thing here. One of the things that we see AI looks for is a description of who your medical supervisors are, slash who's your medical director, where before that really didn't matter that much from a marketing perspective anyway. People a lot of times did not have their medical director listed on their website at all for different reasons. But now it's a big plus to have who's your medical director, all about them, and all about the detailed credentials of your providers. So the more you could write about people's experience and their real credentials, not just, they're a master injector with many years of experience, but saying they got their bachelor's from here, they have this certification, that certification, like those types of things we're seeing matter much more from a marketing perspective. And they've always mattered from a legal perspective, but because when you have a board investigation, one of the things the regulators ask for is show us the certifications of all your providers, show us your supervision, all that stuff. But now, because of AI and all the new Google update, that stuff is important on your website too.
And you beat me right to what I want to talk to you about, which is the expertise of the web.
Oh, okay.
So this is, I could not agree with what you're more with what you're talking about here, because this is again a part of the signaling factor that is going into search. So when we talk about the expertise of a website, what we're really honing in on to what Sarah had just mentioned is the biography of the providers, the authority of the providers. It's all about really who is publishing a piece of content on the website. So again, are you, to what Sarah had mentioned as well, are you also talking about your professional training, the certifications that you had, your specialty board status, your degrees, where you went to medical school, where you went to college, where you went to nurse practitioner for your training, all that. Don't be afraid to brag about yourself, because again, all this credentialing is very much a part of what you need to be showcasing to search engines, that this website is coming from a figure that is a craftsperson, that they know what they're doing within aesthetics because they've been so well trained. You can also talk about, rewards that you've seen, if you're published in research papers, leadership roles within different medical associations. Even guys, a well-structured before and after gallery can help with your overall authoritativeness. Now, I will tell you, galleries have to be structured in specific ways. Galleries can actually work very similarly to blogs, where each time a gallery case is posted, it adds an additional page of content onto the website. Never, never, never take somebody else's work and put that onto your gallery. I would also never use like manufacturers before and after cases that they send you from the device that you had just purchased. You always want to make sure that the work that you are showcasing is yours and yours alone. And let me give you just an example here of what a proper gallery structure looks like. So this is a website that we had built for a facial plastic surgeon that's in Connecticut. But when we go to his gallery here, number one, you always, again, want to make sure that all of your cases can be categorized by the type. I've seen so many types of, when's the last time you've looked at your practice's gallery on your website and like all of your cases are just on the page, but patients have no idea what these things are actually all about. Now, these slider effects can be very, very cool, particularly if you have a lot of judiciousness with how the before and the after case was shot. And what this also does too is it does create a lot of website engagement. It gives something, a little tool, if you will, for a website visitor to play with. And Sarah, I'll tell you, actually, the data that we find on website traffic and website visits, when a website has a photo gallery and the gallery is actually pronounced here on the navigation, it is the second most visited place on a website after the homepage. So
Wow.
where a lot of the lead generation can be created and why proper gallery structure is so important to showcase your work and your authority. Now, here's the difference though. When I click on this case here, pay attention to what happens to the URL structure here at the top. It changes. It's a slight variation, but it's a different URL structure. If I go to the next patient here, and if I do that same thing, you're going to again see there's a change within the URL structure. So the way that Google recognizes this website is that every single case is its own page. And again, going back to our Wikipedia example, why is Wikipedia such a trafficked website? Because there's just thousands of pages, millions of pages likely to this website, and it's just being enriched with content all the time. This is an example of a gallery structure that you don't want to have, where basically when we look at this, there is no recognition of the gallery here on the navigation. As a matter of fact, the before and after photos are buried underneath the contact. So again, how would patients actually even know that a gallery exists when it's just not very obvious for them? But even then, when we click on this here, there is no URL structure where, number one, like I'm taking the before and after cases, which I'm having to go through this, variation of this process here. I'm still not on the case.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of just friction that's being introduced into this process. And you can even see as I click from one case to the next, to the next, to the next, nothing is really happening here with the URL structure.
So
So
it sounds like in this new world, having more pages on your website that are more specific, like one per service, even let's say one per liquid rhinoplasty, one for Botox, one for Dysport, one for Juvederm would be much better than grouping everything together and having a very simple website.
100%, yes. And you can even see that with this example over here as well, too. If I go back to this website and go to Dysport, for example, again, it's not talking about Sculptra. It's not talking about Botox. It's just all about this one particular thing. So guys, we're in this world where nuance matters and specificity matters. If you want to be authoritative, if you want to showcase your thought leadership and to really help to get to that top of that search, you need to give Google the reasons to show you. And this is one of the things that you have to be adapting your strategy if you really want to stay as competitive. Since we're on the website part here, and I think that this is kind of a good segue to talking about how AI can really help you with lead generation. We've talked a little bit about the two E's within EE, the experience and the expertise, and how that affects your visibility. I also want to talk to you about how AI can actually help to convert your website visibility into more leads for you. And one of the things that we have found is that a lot of our sites in today's age are utilizing AI chat integrations. I'm going to share with you, this is an example of a website that we had built. This is also another example of a website that we had built as well too. But how these websites convert is very, very, very efficient. Number one, when patients land on your website, you do not want to make their lead generation process into your practice introduced with more friction. You want that to be as seamless as possible. And the reason why that is because when we want to start to grow revenue, you need to grow leads as a function of that. Again, if we want to start to win revenue, you need to have AI chat tools that are integrated onto your website, because what we have found is that most of your website's traffic does not happen between the hours of 9 to 5. I mean, think about any time that the last time that you wanted to buy anything of value, you're not doing that homework between the hours of 9 to 5. It's, when you have time, maybe on the weekend or after hours. I can tell you right now, when my 2-year-old was born, my wife really wanted a PRP facial. I was doing that homework at 11:30 at night, laying in my bed on my phone while my wife was right next to me, and that's how I got it, right? So do you have access? Is your website effectively open 24/7, 365? And can there be engagement with leads without you needing to be there? And the data, there is actually correlated data between how quickly are leads engaged with, and then how do they convert? And the data that we look at here will basically indicate when there's engagement with leads within the first 30 minutes of time, on average, your conversion rate of that lead to consultation is around 78%. However, if it's been longer than 30 minutes, the conversion rate drops by half to 34%. So that needs to tell you something, that patients in today's age, we ain't got time to wait. For those business owners who are watching this here, you know this better than what I do. It can take patients a long time to sit on a decision just on getting some derma filler. I mean, that could be, 6 months to a year. But by the time we've made that decision, like I wanted that thing now yesterday already. So again, there's always a sense of immediacy. And so those that are winning the revenue are those that are not making more friction happen. So I would encourage you guys, look at your website. When's the last time you looked at your website and you're like, well, gosh, can I find the phone number easily? Phone number, the main call to action should always be front and center on the eye line of a patient. Even when you have language that says, call us today, that's what patients are going to do. As we start to go into, say, some of these internal pages of the website, in addition to chat integrations, do you also have sections on your website where patients can easily submit their data and request a consultation? I will tell you that form fills, AI chats, they actually convert at a higher rate than a phone inquiry. So when we talk about where quality leads are, that's where you want to start to really position a lot of your lead structure from your website. I will also add this as well too. There's so much consolidation that's happening right now in the realm of aesthetics. If you're not thinking about selling your practice, you should still be making business decisions as if that time will happen. And so when we're able to understand, conversions or form fills or online chats, what these now become, folks, are metrics. Metrics are things that we can track. They help to add much more valuation to your practice. It helps to give you much more business intelligence as to where you might be putting your marketing dollars based around where people are inquiring from. If your website's not structured in this way to help you with building more of those metrics, it's a lot more difficult and you waste a lot of years and time with strategies that really don't work because you're not making marketing decisions based off around business intelligence. I will tell you guys, so this is a relatively new case study. This is actually just a screenshot that I took from an email. We're still, this is an evergreen document that you're looking at here. But these are some results that we've been finding from our AI chat integration. And these are very, very timely. This email just came out last month. So Dr. Martha Stewart, she's a dermatologist that we work with. And by the way, this is her real name. Okay.
Wow, what a name.
She's not, she didn't get out of jail with, she's not doing collaborations with Snoop Dogg. This is an actual doctor. But if we take a look at this lead chart that you're finding here, kind of in the middle left-hand corner of this screen, and I'm so sorry, I can't really zoom in any further than this here, but this is where you can see historically her leads were pretty even. She's averaging anywhere from 20 to 30 leads on a monthly basis from her website. Now, when we integrated the AI chat tool, we did not add a dollar to spending more on visibility. But what we created is less friction from the lead generation process. And you can see those last 2 months between May and June, her leads shot up. 80 total leads from the month of June. And that was up from approximately 20 historically. So that's a 75% increase. 66 of those leads were directly related to our AI chat integration. And here's the kicker, 55 of those leads converted from chat. And why is this? Because the AI understands everything about your practice. It can actually have engaged conversations with your patients based around the content that lives on your website. So Sarah, we were talking about earlier, like, do we take away content or do we add content? Here's the thing. Adding more content feeds the AI, which then the AI can have much better engaged conversations with website leads, which is going to help you to drive that revenue.
Yeah, we have this on our website too, and people are always asking the chatbot questions all day and all night. It's a little bit different for us as a law firm. People are asking the chatbot legal advice, and sometimes the legal advice that the AI is giving them is not 100% correct. But I think for an aesthetics practice, this makes a lot of sense because you want people to be able to get questions answered and book appointments 24/7, not just 9 to 5.
100%. And again, we train our AI model to understand everything about your practice as it relates to all the information that lives on your site. So if the AI is giving out information, it's because that information exists from the site that you have, which again, content can always be adapted or changed, whatever that might be. So that was a little bit of a segue just in terms of, what we've been doing on the lead generation side and, how we've seen that really play a role in terms of just converting leads more efficiently. Let's shift back to everybody now to the A within EAT. And this is what we call about your website's authoritativeness. Okay. Authoritativeness, these are effectively peripheral factors. It's not as much about the content on your website as it relates to dedicated pages, questions and answers on services, or even your biography. But there are things that are part of search that don't touch the website, but they're also very critical towards your overall optimization. Okay. Signaling factors include what we call local listing accuracy, Google review quality, as well as consistency. Are you being mentioned and hashtagged by, say, influencers on social media? Do you engage a lot with social media? Are you publishing content? I will tell you that the overall theme of what we talk about with authority factors is the word consistency. And keep in mind, marketing, it's not an event. It's an ongoing process. It's something that you're always engaged with doing. So local listings, let's talk a little bit about what local listings are and why this matters. So Sarah, there's a big difference between, and again, I'll go back to that example of, how many sessions of microneedling do I need to see a result? That's what we call more of a content-based search. And that's where we'll turn to Google and the AI algorithm, or the AI overview, or ChatGPT. We'll talk about those things. Local search is a little bit different though. This is me going on to Google and saying, show me microneedling near me. Or in the case that I just used with Dallas, Morpheus 8 Dallas. Those are both examples of what we would call a local search. Now, there are effectively two things that Google is really looking for when it refers to local optimization. Again, what we're talking about is really just basically your bread and butter. I'm Google and I'm showing some resources of practices that happen to be around that search area. And by the way, when I'm about to share with you, this is not hyperbolic. It's not speculative. This is coming directly from the horse's mouth itself. Factors that Google looks at to determine local ranking, it really boils down to three main things. Distance has everything to do just very simply as to where this patient is searching from. But relevance refers to how well a business profile matches what somebody is searching for. So to help Google better understand your business and to match it for relevant searches, provide complete and detailed business information. This has everything to do with what we refer to as your practice's local listings and basically how your business data is showing up across the internet. Local listings are these profiles that exist online. There's about 60 of them, as well as 15 applications. And when these near me searches are being done, what Google basically wants to do is it wants to trust and validate and verify who you are, where you might be located, what's the proper name, what's the proper address, what's the proper phone number. How consistent is that data among what we refer to as these profiles? If there are a lot of listing inaccuracies with this business data, it ultimately reduces the trust that Google sees in your practice. That lessens your visibility, that lessens your lead flow. Therefore, that lessens how you're then converting more revenue. So, not suggesting to you that patients go to these profiles, they go to Google for that, but Google does really look at all this information. Now, if your practice has moved locations, if you have rebranded, if you have a tracking phone number, all that stuff can really mess up a lot of your location information because of what sources that data, which is what we call data aggregators. Aggregators are things like credit card files, government records, leasing agreements. If you've opened up an LLC, which I hope all of you have with Sarah, all that is very, very critical towards understanding that trust. In this particular case here, this practice is called the Hormone Center, but they used to be called Skin Beautiful Medical Spa and Hormone Restoration. And rather than practicing on 102 Broadway Street, they happen to be based on 2541 East Carson Street. So again, we're finding naming inconsistencies. We're also finding location inconsistencies. This particular practice entity here as well too. If we go to their website here, the website definitely needs a big update. Here's what we can see. But what we can see right up here at the top, we've moved. We've moved onto this address here. So, this particular practice is saying, hey, we have a new location. But guess what happens? These profiles don't recognize that. The new location here is 3436 Hillcrest Avenue, but yet a lot of these profiles say, well, no, this is actually on 3701 State Lone Tree Way in Antioch. So again, a lot of these inconsistencies cause trust issues with how your practice is promoted on a localized level. One of the things that we do is we clean all of this up through having software applications when we work with our practices. And one of the most foundational elements that we integrate is a tool that we have, which is called local SEO. And what local SEO effectively is, it's a software application that is an integrated tool within your Google business profile. So in this particular case, it's this asset here. And it's a combination of offense and defense. And number one, if there is any misinformation, if there's bad data, we suppress this through an API. But the second thing that we do is we push all the clean and the accurate listing information to all these profiles and directories, and we maintain that and we keep that fixed. It's not just about name, address, and phone number, by the way. It's also about your office hours, your payment methods, your insurances that you may or you may not be accepting, all of your services as well too. All that is completely managed through this tool. Now, the output of this that we have found is that this is a lead generation accelerant. And by the way, we put out a big case study just on listings a few years ago. 90% of practices have some form of listing inaccuracy. So if you walk out your door and know that 90% of your competition is not doing this one thing, particularly now that we're entering this realm of, wars in the world and tariffs and all this kind of, upheaval, if you will, go where they aim. Do something that's a very easy win for you to capitalize on. And we have the data to be able to back this up as to why this will help you. An average practice, when they start to align listings, generally will see a 23% increase of more views of their practice on Google. Direction requests will increase. Website traffic will increase. Inbound phone call volume will increase. These are not pie in the sky numbers, but these are very real practical growth improvements that, particularly now that you send traffic to a website that's better converting, you're aligning more of these principles with Google's EAT strategy. It's helping you to stay much more competitive in this landscape. Now, going back to another authoritative factor, and this is what we'll talk about here as well too, in terms of the other thing that Google is looking for, prominence. Prominence means how well known is a business. Prominent places are more likely to show up in search results. More reviews and positive rankings can help your business's local ranking. So guys, let's talk about Google reviews. It's one of my most favorite subjects to talk about. It's one of the cheapest forms of marketing that you can do that yield the highest ROI because it's free. You just need some good processes in place to be able to support that. But what I will tell you is that an effective review strategy is combined by 4 different things. Number one is you want to have a high rating. You cannot be less than a 4.8. As a matter of fact, if you're a 4.3, you fall into the lowest 25th percentile of all practices nationally. So 4.8 or 4.9 is really the sweet spot, slightly less than perfect. You want to have good volume. Consistency is key. And this is the part where I would say a lot of practices are failing, is that they are not meeting proper consistency metrics. Think about your practice volume. How many patients do you see in a given week? Are you at least converting anywhere from 5 to 10% of those patient touch points into new reviews at your practice? I'm even referring to existing patients as well too. Again, if I go back to this Google profile here, what you will see is just a lot of consistency. And by the way, when reviews are aged less than 4 weeks, Google assigns it a new tag. So this is Google's way of also recognizing the relevance of this review, which will help you with your localized SEO. Again, this is a part of the authority factors that Google is really looking to see. More than that, though, guys, I mean, let's just also call a spade here as well, too. Patients trust reviews more than a personal recommendation. I hear so many of my practice owners tell me, oh, I'm just word of mouth. I'm word of mouth. That's great. But also word of mouth is not a strategy. But if you are word of mouth, and if we know that for sure, that's why Google reviews matter so much, because what is a patient going to do when they hear about your practice's name? They're going to look you up. And they want to see how well rated you are because it shows the excellence at your practice. The challenge that a lot of practices have, though, is, I have a ton of happy people, and I hear this all the time. I have so many happy people. I ask them to leave me reviews. They say that they're going to do it, but they just don't do it. You cannot expect a patient to leave you a review if you don't do any type of a follow-up process. Now, there's 2 keys to the review that I will talk to you about. Number one, I would always frame it from the perspective of asking for feedback as opposed to a review. Using the word feedback is less transactional. But you also then want to make sure that you're following it up with a process. Are you texting out a link that goes directly to their phone? Now, I'm sure that a lot of folks have practice management softwares in your practice that will do that. If you don't, this is a feature of our platform that does this, where basically you can send out a mass text to as many patients as you would like to. The one cool feature as to when we put together a text is that we're not also charging on a per text basis. All this is basically incorporated within the packages of what we put together for our clients. I'm just going to send this over here to myself. Now, here's another key metric. What we have found is that your best review times are Monday through Thursday between 6 to 7 at night. That's when you want to send this out to your patients. So, hey, if it's 9 o'clock in the morning, do you have processes in place where I can schedule this to go out, say, later this evening at 6:30? I'm just going to send this out immediately to myself. Once I've done that, my job is effectively finished. Now, on the receiving end, again, I'm about to get a text message that's coming in here from an 801 phone number. So here's my text. It says, "Hi, Michael. Appreciate your help in leaving a review for Michael's Med Spa or family test practice online." Patient simply clicks on the link. It routes them to a landing page where here's your practice's logo. These are your direct integrations with Google and Facebook. Once I click on that integration, if I'm signed in, it literally takes me directly here to where I leave that review. It's the same as to why you want your phone number on your website to be on the eyeline. It's the same as to why you want an AI chat tool on your website. You want to make the patient's experience easy. And this is a two-step process in order to do that. Now, there's a final thing as it relates to Google reviews that is one of the most overlooked parts of a strategy, but it's super important, is review responses. Are you engaging with reviews? Are you saying thank you to reviews? Now, Sarah, being an attorney, I know that she'll certainly give you some feedback in terms of the right way to respond, the proper way to respond. What I will say, though, is one of the features within our platform is artificial intelligence. And what we have trained our AI model to do is it will be able to track every review that has come in both from Google as well as through Facebook. And this is a place right here where you can see every single review that has been published. And what we have done is we have trained our AI model to create proactive review responses for you so that way you don't have to do it. It's been trained to be HIPAA compliant. It removes any acknowledgement of the patient's name. It removes any acknowledgement of the service the patient had done. In this particular case, it says, "I've been a patient of Dr. Rubio for over 10 years. She's always done such great work, so much that all my friends were surprised when they found out I had Botox done." So the AI understands it's appreciative, it's suggestive, it's a positive review. And what the AI will do is it will actually proactively script a response for you. You can see it's generating this here. It's applying HIPAA rules as well too. So, hey, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Our practice is committed to providing quality healthcare, and it's wonderful to hear about your positive experience regarding our services. So if this is okay, then great. This will not proactively publish it. You still have to pull the trigger to be able to have this go out to your feed. Practice owners wanted to take the time to add a little bit more script to this. They have the ability of being able to do that. But really what we're trying to do here is we want to make practice profitability easier for you and make sure that all the aspects of building your strategy are well structured, but also giving you tools that will help to be proactive and not forcing you to have to be able to do that.
This is great. I'm reading the AI review response, and it's legally it's great, but also the way it sounds very human and personalized. So I think that's a great service. I didn't even realize you guys do this.
This is a new feature our Tora platform. By the way, I'm so happy to hear from a legal perspective that you approve on this. We should put Lengea Law approved as a marker on this next time. Maybe we'll work that in somehow.
Yeah, I think reviews are a big thing that people overlook, but reviews make all types of marketing work better, right? If you're spending money in marketing and people go and look you up online and they see that you have only 10 reviews, they're not going to trust you as much as if you have 100 reviews, right?
I'll give you a quick little story because I know we don't have a ton of time left here. But so many years ago, my wife was considering getting a rhinoplasty. So Chelsea has this friend. Her name is Bridget. But Bridget happened to go see this doctor, and she had a rhinoplasty done by this doctor. And she said, like, give him a call. Like, he did really great work, and you can obviously see what he's done for me. So a few weeks had gone by, and this whole conversation kind of went silent. And I asked Chelsea, I said to her, like, well, like, whatever happened to Bridget's doctor? Did you inquire about going to see him? And she says to me, well, no, I checked out his reviews and I decided I didn't want to go. He didn't have really great reviews. So I was kind of curious because like, well, maybe I can help him out a little bit. So I looked up his reviews online, and honestly, Sarah, this doctor was so well credentialed. I mean, Manhattan eye and ear, went to Harvard, well-trained facial plastic surgeon. The reviews that were bad had everything to do with operations. I mean, there was an administrator that he had hired, and like consults were getting screwed up with times, or like there was billing issues. That was what was reflective of this doctor's poor image. I said this to my wife, and I said, maybe you should reconsider because I think that this guy is really good. And she said, no, I'm still not going to go to him. I said, well, why? Like, he's got amazing credentials. He's been practicing for over 15 years. He's younger. He's progressive. Like, why not? And this, what she said to me, I think really matters. She said he chose to hire that administrator. He chose to ignore those reviews. I mean, the buck stops with him. And if I'm going to have an operation done on my face, I need to be working with somebody that's incredibly meticulous. And if somebody is willing to let those things go, what else are they willing to let go? Now, whether you agree with that or not, that was her truth. So absolutely, they play such a profound impact in terms of how it can just make your lead flow and your marketing work easier. Super critical, very, very important. So trustworthiness, guys, this really has everything to do with your website. Do you have SSL encryption on your website? Do you have ADA compliancy as well too? Sarah, we did a webinar on this a few years ago, I remember. But guys, you have to make sure your site is ADA compliant. Are there tools that are on here that can say darken the contrast? Can it increase the text size? Things of that nature. If you do not have this, this is exposing your practice to a potential lawsuit.
Yeah, there are law firms who just specialize in finding websites that are not ADA compliant. We're not that law firm, obviously, but we've had a number of clients get sued just because there was allegedly a person who tried to go on their website who wasn't able to, read the text.
Absolutely. So again, those are two really, really critical components. If you go to your website over the domain name here, it should say that this is a secure connection, which means that SSL encryption has also been programmed into the website. So again, if your site is older, if it's non-responsive, if it's an old Wix site, those are very much liabilities. I know a lot of you here probably watching this have your website platform on Wix. While you might have the SSL encryption, it's not, generally speaking, a mobile responsive website, which dings against your local Google optimization. It definitively will not be an ADA compliant site. The same also applies to GoDaddy sites. The same will also apply to Squarespace websites. And so, again, put yourself into a winning position. This is something that Sarah and I always say is that, it's better to set yourself up for success now. That way you're avoiding failure points down the line. Let's get to some Q's and A's. I would love to hear from you guys. We've talked a little bit about the EEAT. What questions do you have here for me that I can address?
I could ask you a quick question as other people are thinking about their question. So if you could recommend 2, 3 things that someone can implement tomorrow, with your help or without your help, to optimize their website for all the new AI updates coming, what do you think like those things would be?
So I would definitely lean into the authority factors because those are the easiest ones to tackle. Again, build Google reviews. Make that very, very consistent. Make your social media consistent. Again, if you're not posting on a cadence of at least every other day, you're just simply not feeding the algorithm and showing the algorithm that you're a user of it. So that's also very, very critical as well too. Again, can be a free thing. The third thing is look at your website. Again, going back to what we talked about with experience and expertise, do you have dedicated pages on every single service? If you're grouping things together, separate them out. Build in more of those content areas. Survey your staff. Like, hey, what are common questions that our patients are always asking? Write those questions down. Get those questions onto your website. Those are very free and actionable things that you can get going on with now to put yourself into a position of success. Now, ultimately, do you need an expert that's going to help you to do that? That's why we're here. We're not here to be sell you stuff, but we are very much here to be a collaborative partner in your overall growth as well too. I'll also add, Sarah, is this well. So we're here at August 14th. Q4 is right around the corner. And that's always a time that's going to be much busier for aesthetics practices before year end. That is a great time to have a much better and well-structured digital marketing strategy. So that way you can really start to capitalize on visibility and conversions once we hit that time.
And somebody asked, do stock images or personalized photos do better? What about videos versus photos? Does it matter?
Yeah. So I'm always a fan of original photography. When we study bounce rates on websites, we always find that original photography will have lower bounce rates. What a bounce rate means is the percentage of people that once they land on a website, do they leave it right away? You want to have a low bounce rate because that suggests good engagement. Now, that said, stock photography has gotten really, really good, and it's not like how it was 10 or 15 years ago. It's much more lifestyle driven. I will always say put into your marketing plan, you should have an original photo shoot. Put that onto your website. Those are great assets that you can gift yourself. If you need to get away with stock images, though, for the time being, totally fine to do that. Just make sure you're working with a company that can really be able to supply that for you. In terms of the videography, it's a very cool thing. What I will say is, and this is something that we tell our clients, if you want to do it, great, we're going to do it, but it can slow your website's load time down. And that can also have a negative impact on your SEO. So if you really want to be safe, original photos is really the way to go.
And then in terms of what platforms do you recommend for website hosting, and also what plugins do you recommend for ADA compliance?
Platform is WordPress. Where the market is right now and where it has historically been, it's been WordPress because WordPress really is the best platform for your search optimization. It's the most ubiquitous. It's the platform that will you can do the most with. You know, it's kind of like how your iPhone, if you download apps, you can increase the phone's functionality. If you do things within Wix, you really have to stick within the Wix sandbox. So having a site that's more open-ended and more adaptive is always going to be better for your search presence.
What about AI generated photos?
If we need to use that for images on the home screen, for example, as far as the design feature, not a bad idea to do that. Sometimes what we do for our clients as well is we get these photos that are sent to us and they're kind of grainy. We might use AI to enhance that, but do not use any type of AI photos for your before and afters. Again, you know, they have
AI will know, right?
AI is going to know, and honestly, it's a poor representation of your practice. So yeah, please do not do that. You know, keep it just to like the design images.
And we've been involved in a couple of lawsuits where people used photos that they found on other people's Instagram pages that didn't say on them like copyright, whatever. It was just like a well-known lips or Botox before and after, but then people put it on theirs, and then they got sued for copyright infringement, not by the other practice that they took the photo from, but from the original photographer of the image, because now they can do these advanced searches and find everywhere where their image is used. So yeah, just be careful from a legal perspective too with the photos.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. Well, Sarah, I know that we're at our time here. I want to just say thank you again for welcoming me into, you know, your world, and I always enjoy having the chance to present with you. I'm happy to stick around if there's some additional questions and answers, but before we get too deep, because I know that we all have busy lives and schedules here, folks, you know, if you really need some help with your marketing strategy, you know, again, as I mentioned, Q4 is right around the corner. We would love to help to be a partner in your growth and really help to give you some guidance as to how you can be better positioned. Again, marketing, it's a process, it's not an event. So this is the time that you want to start to really build your building blocks. The QR code here to the left, this links directly into my calendar. I also have my associate, my brother that I work with, Robbie, that links with him as well too. Feel free to schedule your complimentary consultation. Robbie or I are going to go through all the nuances as to your strategy, what's working well, what you need to adapt. If you're really trying to make a change as we head into Q4, I would encourage you to book some time with us. If you're not quite ready for that though, you know, if you want to just stay in touch, this is a link to my Instagram. Feel free to follow me on here as well too. I've also, you know, have put together some very nice plans and packages here for tonight's attendees as well. Basically, the overall structure of what we do, guys, is we charge nothing up front to say recreate a website for you. What we do is we integrate a website in with the ongoing marketing that we also provide. So all of our modeling is just done on a monthly fee. So again, we have a lot of different plans here. Would love to be able to sit down to meet with you one-on-one, talk a little bit more about, you know, where your growth opportunities are, as well as how we can help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. I hope everyone takes advantage of those options and your complimentary consultation. I know when I first met you and I did the consultation with you, I learned a lot of things that I didn't know and was able to implement with your help. So I really appreciate that. Thanks so much for spending this hour with us. If you guys have any other questions, reach out to me or to Michael. And we hope everyone has a great evening and a good rest of your week.
All right. Take good care. See you guys.
Yeah, bye.